My name is Waffles, and I'm a government whistleblower turned political commentator, and this is the last 24 hours in the news. Today is August 14th, 2025. It is 4:13 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Here are the top U.S. news highlights for the past 24 hours. Trump federalizes D.C. police and extends control. President Trump ordered the deployment of about 800 National Guard troops and assumed control over the D.C. Metropolitan Police, justifying it as a response to lawlessness despite crime being at a 30-year low. He's proposing a longer extension of federal oversight, raising significant legal and civil liberties concerns. Trump fired Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McIntyre after she released what he disparaged as a rigged jobs report. He has nominated E.J. Antoni, a right-wing economist from the Heritage Foundation, as her replacement. Trump delayed scheduled tariff hikes on Chinese goods for another 90 days, continuing a temporary detente. He also signaled plans for a high-stakes Alaska summit with Vladimir Putin, where land swaps in Ukraine could be discussed. Swiss-U.S. airline talks amid tariff standoff. Lufthansa and Swiss officials are exploring a workaround to the U.S. 39% aircraft import tariff, potentially routing imports through Switzerland to sidestep fees. CDC shooter found to have died by suicide. The individual who fatally shot a police officer at the CDC and then took his own life, reports suggest he blamed the COVID-19 vaccine for his mental health decline, prompting calls to denounce vaccine misinformation. Trump confirmed his upcoming talks with Putin will involve land swapping proposals in Ukraine, a stance that has alarmed European allies and drawn sharp criticism from Ukrainian officials. U.S.-China extend tariff truce by 90 days, confirmed. Reuters reports that President Trump signed an executive order extending the tariff truce with China through November 10th, avoiding steep import tariffs and providing a temporary reprieve for retailers entering the holiday season. The markets just closed, technically yesterday. I mean, for me, it's still, I'm still experiencing yesterday. I've been awake all night. Major U.S. indexes continued their upward trend amid strong market confidence anchored in the expectation of a Federal Reserve rate cut in September. The S&P 500 closed at a record high of 6,466.58, gaining 0.32%. The NASDAQ composite also made a new all-time high, closing, adding about 0.14% to reach 21,713.14. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rallied by 104%, closing at 44,922.27, inching closer to its historic peak. The Russell 2000 small cap index climbed nearly 2%, hitting a 6-month high. Investor optimism is fueled by softening inflation data and lowering treasury yields, which have convinced markets that monetary easing is forthcoming. Notably, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent signaled even the possibility of a half-point rate cut, amplifying expectations. Rotation away from mega cap tech. While headline indexes were buoyant, heavyweight names like Nvidia, Alphabet, and Microsoft lagged, suggesting investors are seeking broader growth opportunities. Sector winners, healthcare surged, rebounding from earlier losses, and media players like Paramount, Skydance jumped as much as 37% on exclusive UFC rights announcements. Underperformers CoreWeave fell sharply following lackluster earnings, illustrating the divergence within growth sectors. U.S. trade and economic highlights. Zinc shipments to the U.S. surge ahead of smelter shutdown. Commodity giant Trafigura is pulling significant amounts of zinc from London Metal Exchange warehouses in Singapore, with some destined for U.S. import. This move anticipates a temporary shutdown of its Tennessee smelter, which processes up to 125,000 tons annually. Zinc prices have risen roughly 5% in August amid tightening supply concerns. India auto parts trade under threat from new tariffs. The U.S. announced fresh tariffs on Indian auto components, jeopardizing trade valued at approximately $7 billion. Analysts warn these steps could cut India's U.S.-bound auto exports by 15 to 20%, equating to around 8% of India's total production in the sector. Political pressure raises the alarm on data integrity. Experts have raised red flags over growing political interference in economic data. The Trump administration's influence over U.S. government statisticians and private forecasters is seen as a threat to the independence and reliability of published data. Global markets paused their rally amid heightened expectations of imminent U.S. rate cuts, possibly 50 basis points in September, as suggested by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The U.S. dollar made a two-week low, while risk assets like Bitcoin reached a record high above $124,000. GE Appliances announces $3 billion U.S. investment. GE Appliances, a Haier subsidiary, is committing over $3 billion to bolster U.S. operations over the next 5 years. The investment will create around 1,000 jobs across 5 states, part of a broader push to strengthen domestic manufacturing. Here is the upcoming hazardous weather outlook for the next few days. West, southwest, and plains. Extreme heat continues to build through the weekend. Temperatures are forecast to soar to 103 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, especially on Friday and Saturday. Heat advisories likely required. This creates serious risks of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and wildfire ignition. Stay indoors during peak hours. Hydrate and check on vulnerable individuals. Midwest and central U.S. heat wave is not localized. Hot and humid conditions will grip the Midwest and central plains, with similar highs in the upper 90s to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. While no severe storms or flooding are reported, heat-related precautions are strongly advised. Southeast and Gulf Coast expect continued sizzling heat, particularly inland. No severe weather systems are forecast, but the combination of heat and humidity will heighten health risks during outdoor activity. Northeast and mid-Atlantic conditions are broadly hot and sunny. However, there is a chance for isolated storms or brief showers, especially in often muggy areas. Carry water and watch for localized thunder. Southern California's extreme heat is expected to ease slightly as temperatures gradually cool into the weekend. This offers some relief from the desert heat, especially inland. Hazardous heat watch in 17 states. The National Weather Service has issued a hazardous heat wave alert, impacting 17 states across the interior, warning of widespread dangerous conditions that pose health threats like heat stroke and dehydration. Notable weather event, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Recent severe weather in Chattanooga led to deadly flooding, with 3 confirmed fatalities when a fallen tree struck a vehicle. While those floods have passed, further short-term heavy rain is possible in parts of Tennessee and nearby regions. Here are the key international news highlights from the past 24 hours. Israel intensifies Gaza assault. International condemnation mounts. The Israeli military chief approved a new attack strategy focused on Gaza City, signaling a shift toward further escalation amid disagreements with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The offensive included tactics widely criticized as scorched earth, with at least 25 civilians while seeking aid killed. International backlash included relief agencies and the UN condemning the violence, And New Zealand's Prime Minister accused Netanyahu of having lost the plot. Surge in Gaza civilian deaths. Israeli bombardment of Gaza continued overnight, resulting in 123 deaths within a 24-hour period, per Gaza health officials. Ceasefire negotiations persisted in Cairo, even as tensions and international condemnation intensified. U.S. tariffs trigger crisis in Lesotho. The U.S.'s new tariffs on African imports enforced under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, have had catastrophic economic consequences in Lesotho, long a beneficiary of duty-free U.S. textile access. The fallout has led to factory shutdowns, rising unemployment, and a formal declaration of a state of disaster by the government. Aid advocates warn that these trade measures undermine years of development and risk, driving African economies deeper into dependency or Chinese influence. Italy moves to curb Chinese stakes in strategic firms. Italy's government is exploring proposals to limit Chinese investment in key industries over national security concerns. The initiative aims to protect critical infrastructure and align more closely with U.S. allies amid escalating global tech competition and geopolitical tension. Oil prices slide on oversupply fears. WTI crude oil prices fell to $62.70 per barrel, marking the lowest level in over 2 months. The drop was driven by increased supply expectations, fueled by the International Energy Agency's forecast of a growing oil surplus globally. Trump economic behavior raises a global alarm. Investors and analysts are drawing parallels between Trump's second-term economic actions, such as political meddling with the Federal Reserve, dismissals over data disagreements, and centralized decisions-making and destabilizing patterns typical in emerging markets. Concerns include threats to U.S. institutional stability, which could erode international confidence in American leadership and currency strength. My name is Waffles. This is the last 24 hours in the news. It is August 14, 2025. Have a good Thursday.
So the Olympics is great. And Johnny, for the others, you know, the World Cup, Johnny is the head of it. We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026, and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So, Johnny, thank you for the World Cup, and everybody, thank you for the Olympics. We're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment to my videos. And also, don't forget to check out my shop where you could get this awesome Real Patriots Punch Nazis t-shirt. America, fuck yeah! And if you go to the link tree in my bio on most platforms, it's got links to everything, all of my stuff. You can find my shop there. I'm on eBay. You can also get this cool Exterminate MAGA sticker, because MAGA's fucking cockroaches. And fuck MAGA. Abolish MAGA. Fuck you, MAGA.